What's up, guys? It's Wednesday night. It's ship chasing. We got Pat Crane. We got Ben Gretsch here. We got NFL free agency news still trickling in. We're starting to see some pro day stuff. Everyone watching the Rondale Moore videos, and also some big housekeeping news. Launching a ship chasing Discord. I was trying to say combine them together. A ship chasing Discord.
The ship chord.
The ship chord. The ship chord.
Well, let's call that now because that's the way things work.
God, what was the last time that happened?
Roll the clip of the ship chord.
The ship chord.
It was SC Banners. That was the last.
SC Banners.
Yeah, exactly.
Which we used for the entire off season.
Yeah. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing good. Ben, did you see that we did a special Top Shot stream yesterday, Pat and I, to get it out of our system before tonight?
I saw the tweet about it.
I tagged you so you'd be grateful.
Yeah, but I have questions. Like, what's going on? Because I still haven't.
Right.
No mentor or whatever you call it.
Let's catch Ben up. This will be fun.
Because it went down and then back up, right? Is that where we're at?
Well, we're waiting on the backup part.
Okay.
What would you say we're in a dead cat bounce? Is that the financial term to what's happening right now?
Yeah, if it ultimately ends up not being the start of a bull run, you'd call it a dead cat bounce. If we keep going down after this,
Henry spoke too soon. It would appear.
Yeah, we'll get there. We got to catch Ben up on Top Shot World as a no mentor.
I don't know what's going on at all, but I see tweets.
Have no fear. Pat is still pumping thousands and thousands.
I'm still pumping
into the ecosystem.
Yeah, should I be buying right now? Is my real question.
Well, listen. Davis says, "Don't ask me how to spend your money. Just watch what I'm doing with my money. And if you're watching what I'm doing with my money, it's time to buy."
The natives are getting restless with us. Yeah, we can't even talk Top Shot.
But I will say, your Omni. I think it was an Omni Fantasy chat. Yeah, one of the things. That's how I found out about the purchase that I made. It might have been a listener league chat. But.
Yeah. And I will say on that note, that is partly why we wanted to get the Discord going. So just to make sure that it's clear. So I have my
Top Shot all the time.
No, I'm trying to. The point I'm trying to make
to connect the listeners and us.
We have so many disparate
Top
chats from listener leagues, from different things. So the Discord's going to give us a place to be in there together. So we have the Deposit Kingdom, that link is down below. And then we're doing the VIP program through the channel. So it's going to be a private channel within the Deposit Kingdom Discord. So none of the Top Shot riffraff can just wander in there. And Pat and Ben and I are going to hang out in there, especially after shows. We're going to do a little hangout every Wednesday night after there. We'll answer your questions. Once we get into the throes of draft season, you can use us as a resource. And just trying to give us one umbrella place. We're going to organize listener leagues via there. And then, of course, as you can see here from Phil, you get the custom emojis. Right now, we can only do 4. I got the grimace one up there. It's not showing up on the screen, but you'll see it in the live chat.
It just says grimace.
In the chat, it shows up, but StreamYard doesn't have integration for that. And you get the VIP badges and all that good stuff. So if you have any questions about it, let us know. But I've done it with my channel, and it's worked out really well. The VIP channel is one of my favorite spots in the Discord. So yeah, that's the spiel on that.
And merch you've been working on.
I've been working on merch. Very close. I didn't get to that today, but very soon. And my goal is actually to get it up tomorrow because TeePublic is doing a 35% off discount right now. So you can get shirts for like $12. So I'm going to get some ship chasing designs up. You seem to like those mock-ups I sent, right?
Yeah, they were awesome.
Yeah. So you actually can already get Deposit King shirts. That's in the Fantasy Life store. I could send you the link to that, but those exist. Okay. Excited to see you guys coming in here. Let's talk some free agency news because I still feel like there was a decent amount of news that trickled in from last week. I mean, last week, did we have the Will Fuller to Miami yet when we did our show?
I don't think so.
No.
I can't tell if I'm just a homer now because I like the Dolphins, but I'm excited about it. Is that a bad take, Gretch? Is this bad for fantasy?
No, I don't see a problem with it. Will Fuller's good. We know that. I mean, not everybody seems to know that, but the vast majority of people, I think, in our sort of sphere, accept that at this point. Yeah, he has some drops issues, whatever. He gets open, he draws targets, he produces. The deal is a 1-year prove it deal. I mean, I think that's kind of the best you could hope for with the suspension, but I'm not really concerned about the financial terms because of the suspension. He still actually got a decent contract if you consider the fact that he was coming off a PD suspension and has had all these injury issues. So I would expect him to be a starter very clearly. I mean, obviously they do have 2 outside receivers. They still have Devontae Parker under contract, and then they have Preston Williams, who can't stay healthy. But I would expect Fuller to play, all the time, basically. And then, Ken Williams fit in as the third guy, basically. But yeah, no, I think it's a good fit. We'll have to see if Tua makes a step forward, right?
Yeah, I was talking to Davis about this morning, and it seems like it could be an opportunity for Tua to prove, that he is a better quarterback than we saw last year because he's a different type of quarterback than Ryan Fitzpatrick. And if you get him a guy like Fuller who gets open, and doesn't require kind of the 50-50 type throws that Devontae Parker thrives on, then, maybe Tua takes a big leap forward. And we saw how beneficial Will Fuller was for his entire career with Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson was so much better when Will Fuller is on the field. He's the type of wide receiver that makes guys better. Pete, you've talked a lot about this. I think that could be a big factor here. And, writing quarterbacks off after their rookie season is generally not a great idea.
Where do you guys think he falls? Because Will Fuller had last year, he kind of turned into the alpha wide receiver from a target share perspective, getting more targets than he had been versus playing the kind of stretch guy alongside Nuke. Do you think he's more like co-alpha with Parker, or do you think he's the Will Fuller to Devontae Parker's DeAndre Hopkins in this scenario?
I think it's more like co-alpha, personally. I don't think Parker is going to be leaps and bounds ahead of him, but it will be interesting. I mean, I think something we're going to have to factor in, obviously, very, very simply off the top when we do projections or consider how things could play out, is that Fuller has always been injury prone, Devontae Parker's always been injury prone, and Preston Williams has had a hard time staying healthy. Their top 3 receivers are not guys that are particularly good at staying on the field. The odds that all 3 of those guys play 16 games are relatively low, I would say. So when you're taking one, you're kind of considering that there are scenarios where one of the others might miss at least a couple of games, which would certainly, improve the situation. Like Fuller's the kind of guy that people are going to say there's a competition for targets and the projections aren't going to be great. And I can only project him for 105 targets and he's going to go in like the 9th round now or 10th round. I don't know. I haven't done any drafts. I don't know where he's going. I'm sure there's already ADP up for that, but he's somebody that will get pushed down by projections that are going to,
because you can't project the yards per target to be where and he can potentially have it.
Right. That true. And then also they're going to assume that everyone's healthy, basically. And I'm going to assume that Fuller might not be able to stay healthy, but there's going to be a lot of scenarios where if he's healthy and in my lineup, because I'm only going to play him on weeks when he's healthy, the other guys might not be sometimes. And he's the type of player that can thrive as soon as that happens. He's the guy, he'll be an anti-fragile pick. If Devontae Parker misses time, Fuller can have 8 to 10 target weeks very quickly, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
he's also capable of doing a lot on a few targets, So even if they're kind of co-alphas, I think Fuller's the more interesting guy just because of the type of player that Tua is. I just don't see Parker thriving under Tua, but if Tua takes a step forward, I think he takes that with Fuller. So you bet on the Fuller piece of it in my mind.
I agree with you that this makes me certainly less excited about Parker. We took Parker not because we liked him, but because he went really late in our very first draft of the year. This was before Top Shot, so you guys probably don't remember this at all. But the 3 of us did a draft.
I remember we did a draft, Ben.
Yeah, okay.
It's so foggy. Can you
don't ask me
details?
Anyone on that team.
It was like the 9th round or 10th round. We took Devontae Parker as I think our 5th receiver or 6th receiver or something.
Yeah.
Because he just fell. And part of the reason we said was like, look, he's got the high ADOT, he's got splash week potential. Even last year when he wasn't as good, he had some I think he had like 315-yard games with 12 to 14 targets in each of these games, and he has touchdown upside. But Fuller is the exact type of receiver that will negatively impact that, right? Like Parker won't be the only vertical guy now.
Right. This kind of shocks me. I thought, Ben, when you kind of off the cuff said 8th, 9th or whatever, that I was like, that seems more right, because I did think people are the public seems down on Tua. People are going to do the mouths to feed target share thing like you. I'm kind of surprised, because I think last year he was stepping into like the nut situation, alpha with Deshaun Watson, and was going mid-5th, right?
Yeah.
So you're telling me he's only dropping around here with all
I think he falls for sure.
He has to.
Especially, I'm guessing that people aren't even that clear that he's not eligible week 1, because the suspension carries into week 1, and that's going to get talked about more. I bet he goes in the 8th round. I mean, he's going in the 6th and 7th now. I bet he goes in the 8th by August at the highest, I would say.
Chris was saying he thinks people are betting on Watson going to the Dolphins. I think it's pretty risky to bet on Watson in any capacity.
Yeah.
I mean, he's probably going to get a suspension, right?
You'd have to think.
Yeah, it doesn't seem good. I mean, I haven't gotten to do a ton of reading up on it, but it does not sound good. No, and then they invest in Tyrod there too, which seems like a pretty big hedge against him. So I would say the other big one that dropped was Babytron, Kenny Golladay. To the Giants, getting a little crowded there for I always like to leave a candle on for Darius Slayton. They had John Ross, now they had Kenny Golladay. What are your guys' takes on that signing?
I mean, it's hard for me to get excited about it, because I feel like we have seen enough out of Garrett and Jones to where it's like, are we really going to see him support an alpha wide receiver with other guys who can play? Like Shepard can play, I think that the other wide receivers can all play. And so it's going to be hard for Golladay to rack up target share. And it's not an offense where I really want to be targeting the target share to begin with.
Yeah. Ben?
Yeah. I mean, you can probably make a similar case to what I just made about Fuller, which is that, that people are going to say this is crowded, but I think Golladay is going to be viewed as the clear number 1, and he's going to get drafted accordingly. And you're changing teams. It's a worse offense. It's a worse quarterback situation, in my opinion. Galladay's really good, and I like him a lot. I know I have him like in Dynasty. I'm not like actively going to look to sell, because I think his value probably took a hit, but I doubt that I'll be drafting him in many spots. I mean, he's a guy that and same with Fuller, I guess, if he's still going in the 6th, 7th. If these guys haven't, if you're early drafting and these guys haven't adjusted at all, like I'm assuming Golladay is probably going 4th or 5th, if I try to throw out a number. But
do we think the narrative pendulum could have swung back in the other direction, because it was heading into last year with Nuke and Diggs? It was like, hey, we have this historical data. Wide receivers who change teams don't generally fare well. You were getting Nuke and Diggs at insane discounts relative to their production profile and skill set. And now we got like, oh, we're super bullish on Kenny Golladay and Will Fuller, who are great talents, but they are not DeAndre Hopkins and Stephon Diggs. And I wonder if there's an overconfidence in players changing teams because of those two guys.
Probably. And there probably will be. And the argument with Diggs, we've talked about this a ton on the show, and I made this argument last offseason. It was the whole reason I was so on him was that he was so grossly misused in Minnesota. He was pigeonholed big time. And you don't see we know from research that the wide receiver dictates the depth of target. You don't see a wide receiver have like a 6-yard gap in depth of target unless they're just jamming him into roles. And that's what Diggs had in 2018. He was in like the 8 dot range, I think it was. He was well below league average, basically being used as like a Michael Thomas. And he had 140 targets and he had a 100 catch season. Very next year, he has a 14 plus A dot in 2019, and he's being used as this only deep threat. He only has 94 targets. They're just like only running him on certain routes, which is not who Diggs is. And he had the opportunity finally to go to the Bills, a team who had tried to acquire Antonio Brown. They were looking for this alpha, and he's been able or was able last year to be that alpha and run routes at all depths, and we saw what he could do. That's not like that doesn't apply to Golladay or Fuller. Those guys have already done that. They're not coming off scenarios where like they're at at a low and there's a clear potential rise in situation. For Golladay, the situation I think at best is a lateral move. And I think The same would be true of Fuller. It's probably a pretty significant negative for Fuller from a quarterback standpoint. So,
Watson's awesome. So, Tua would have to break out to get to Watson.
Yeah, the prior research for these guys, I'm definitely concerned about. And then Hopkins is the other one. Hopkins is just Hopkins. Like, he's a top 3 receiver, period. Talent-wise, like, body control, everything. It's ridiculous. So, anyway, these guys to me are not on that level, and they're guys that the prior research is going to matter for me. Like, I'm going to downgrade them because they're changing teams.
Yeah, and so based on this ADP, 52.5, Chris said he just saw him go 4.11. I mean, that's kind of putting you into, like, I don't know, last year, Cortland Sutton ADP range, I would say, is probably like a pretty good ADP type situational comp for Golladay there.
Yeah,
maybe?
It was like McLaurin and DJ Chark, and those dudes were going in those ranges, right? Like, I would rather have that type of guy. I don't know where they're going this year, but I'd rather have that type of guy than Golladay switching teams.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. And it's not a team we want a part of. And it's crowded. Yeah, I don't love it. I would be selling him in Dynasty if the projections. So I guess here's the question: what do you think the projections are going to say about Kenny Golladay? Do you think he's going to be like, it looks like by ETR that they're going to be lower than market on Kenny Golladay as well, and you're saying you're lower on market. So now you're in a position where his ADP is probably going to decrease in redraft. It's going to hurt his Dynasty ADP. So if you don't sell him now, you're betting on him in season. And he's turning 28 this season. So I actually do think he's a sell, even though it always feels shitty to have to sell a guy when something bad has happened. But I think this is probably your window. Yeah.
Good advice. I probably will try to do that.
I mean, I'm just like,
why don't you tell me this off the air, dude?
Sorry.
That's right. Yeah, you got to pack your bags before you start pumping the trades here. Someone did ask, just to circle back. I thought this was a good question that I wasn't entirely sure about too. What is Tua's? I guess I thought I had in my head that he was even kind of an efficient dink and dunker in college. Was that true?
That's my impression. Yeah, because even some of Ruggs' stuff was happening after the catch.
Because his comp was always like Drew Brees, and so I never like thought huge deep ball, but I didn't know if you guys had other thoughts on that.
He's not a huge deep thrower as far as I know.
Yeah. But Will Fuller will unlock the arm.
But he gets open, like maybe they have him running more intermediary routes.
Yeah.
But he's really good.
Well, and I think that's something about Fuller that we saw this year and people didn't think he had, but we definitely saw. He can run routes at all depths. He's not just
that Diggs thing happened with him last year.
A little bit, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. Other news that was interesting. Mike Davis to Atlanta. Doing anything for you guys?
Is he gonna end up starting? I mean, they gotta draft someone, right?
I mean, they have to, right?
They have to, but I kind of like it. Like I was saying to Davis, the guy who has Mike Davis in Dynasty is probably looking to cash out for anything he can get. So he's probably very available. And he showed last year that he can be pretty serviceable if he's filling in for an injury. And we don't know if this rookie is going to end up being good. My boy Ronald Jones, 2nd-round pick, does nothing in his rookie year. Like, it happens. So you don't want to just completely 100% say the rookie's going to be the guy.
And Mike Davis is like that type of back where a comp, I guess, would be Tevin Coleman to the Jets. And I'm mildly interested in that too, but Tevin Coleman is not reliable. Mike Davis is reliable. Like, Mike Davis does all those things that coaches love. He pass blocks, he catches, he hits holes hard, he runs physically. He's totally the kind of guy that if a rookie's struggling, they will just play Mike Davis 75% of the snaps. That will just happen.
Pass blocking, gets a guy blown up. I
mean, this is Eric getting him at 13-12. I mean, that's insane for a 0 RB target. I mean, I assume he's going to move up heavily, at least until the draft. And even then, I think even if he's in a committee with an unpolished rookie, he should still probably be worth a little more than that.
I don't know that he'll move up because it's just one of those picks where you're going to feel sick to your stomach when they take Harris or when they take ETN or whatever. And
don't the FFC boomers and grinders, they love guaranteed touches, and if he's projecting as a starting running back, they're going to talk themselves into that.
Not if they take Harris or ETN.
Yeah, I think they're just not going to buy that until, I mean, if somehow they don't draft a running back, he'll be like a 4th-round pick.
Which so far, like based on what we've been talking about pre-draft, for people who are doing best balls right now, I would not be taking Fuller in the 6th round. I would not be taking Golladay where he's going. I would be buying Mike Davis shares right now in the 13th round. Absolutely would be putting him on teams. He's gonna have a role. You might not end up loving that, but you're not gonna end up hating it. Like maybe he ends up in the 15th round if they really add, a star running back and he gets amazing camp reviews. Maybe Davis falls a little bit, but that's probably where he goes at worst. And at best, he could end up as like a 6th round pick or a 7th round pick. I mean, if they really don't add anyone else and we're like, wait, he's Arthur Smith's running back, he's the new Derrick Henry in this offense, like, yeah.
Or they had like Michael Carter to be like a rotational back with him. They don't add one of the clear cut like lead backs.
Yeah, he could end up as a 7th round pick or something like that.
Or even if they had Chuba. And he's the receiving back, Mike Davis.
That's what I was going to say. That's what's exciting about Mike Davis is that they could sign, a thumper, right? A plotter, and he's catching all the balls. I mean, we've seen him catch 6-7 balls a game as that role. If he had that all to himself, you're looking at a premium. You're looking at like Chris Thompson plus, and I know Chris Thompson had outrageous catch numbers, but I mean, he can actually run between the tackles a little bit too.
He's like Jamal Williams or something. He can kind of do everything. He's not amazing, but he can do everything.
Let's see the some other interesting stuff. Pat, I know you've always been bearish on Philip Lindsay, but I'm kind of excited to see him get a change of scenery here with Houston.
Me too. Yeah, I mean, they've got Ingram, they've got David Johnson, but Lindsay's the best running back on the team now. And look, I mean, I was bearish on Philip Lindsay last year, but I had Philip Lindsay in his rookie season. I think he can play. I just thought that his role was going to be a classic trap back to use Ben's stat. They just were pretty clear that they were going to be using Gordon in the receiving game and at the goal line, and Lindsay was going to be kind of filling in whatever else. And I don't know. There's some worry that that'll happen here again in Houston, though, because you got David Johnson probably going to be the receiving down back. Maybe Mark Ingram works in at the goal line and he's getting all the trap touches again. And we don't have the quarterback situation figured out. So it's hard to get too excited, but I hope he emerges as the clear cut lead back. Cause I think at this point in David Johnson's career, Lindsay's more talented.
That to me, again, I'm already excited about talking myself into Philip Lindsay because it looks like one of those things where on paper it seems so crowded and so blocked, but I do just want to believe that Philip Lindsay is way more talented than both of those guys at this point in his career.
Way more than Ingram.
Yeah, but they're going to give Ingram touches. I mean, they're going to give these guys touches. Lindsay's undersized. Like, he's not going to have a better role than he had in Denver, in my opinion. I'm a little bit more bearish, I guess. I won't draft any of these guys, ultimately.
Let me.
Makes me. I guess I'll be drafted with you guys a little bit this year. maybe we'll wind up with some Lindsay, but this is not going to be a good team. This is not going to be a good offense. We don't even know if Watson's going to play for multiple reasons. He might hold out, or he might not be allowed to play based on all his legal stuff. So anyway, that's got to get sorted out. But even if he plays, they don't have good receivers. They haven't made good moves. It's not a good team. And you have 3 different running backs that all probably think that they're sort of the guy. I probably won't touch that back.
Let's not bag on the receivers too much, all right? They got Chris Conley. They're filling holes.
Oh, I missed that. Conley's there now? He's like their number one.
Yeah, he's the number one, man.
Who else did they get? It was a bunch of nobodies, right?
Well, they cut that guy, I think Hansen, that had played
meaningful
snaps for them.
They cut Patrick Laird's college roommate?
They cut him. They signed Dante Moncrief, who hasn't played in years. Chris Moore,
He played last year for the Steelers.
Alex Erickson. He played Dante Moncrief?
Yeah, he was terrible.
I don't remember that. Chris Moore, Alex Erickson, Andre Roberts. What? Like, what is your plan? Chris Conley is your best receiver.
Please don't. I literally was on a stream with Chris Conley 4 hours ago.
Oh, dude, I told you.
Please don't talk shit about Chris Conley.
I told you last week. Yeah, he's my favorite player in the league now after that first stream.
Good.
Go
Texans.
That's how I started this. I said, hey, don't talk shit on the Texans wide receivers.
That's right.
I missed that they added him. Let me take it back. They have one stud and a bunch of scrubs after Conley.
That's right. Chris Conley, 100 catch season rather, incoming.
What's his ADP? Let's get an ADP check.
Yeah, ADP check. We're gonna pump Chris Conley's ADP until he's into the 13th round.
I love it.
So then Mike Boone swaps with Lindsey. I mean, he's just going to play the Philip Lindsay role, right? Like he's kind of a Philip Lindsay type. Am I wrong on that?
Well, he's the type of what they decided Philip Lindsay was.
True.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I actually don't think Philip Lindsay is the role he had last year, but Mike Boone very much is, I think. And maybe he gets more goal line stuff than Lindsay did.
Yeah. Do you have any excitement about Boone? I mean, Pat will get fired from ETR if he slanders his name.
I mean, that's another one I want to wait and see about the quarterback situation because I don't have any faith in Drew Lock, and that team is talented, man. And I would really love if they had another quarterback that could compete with Lock and actually, potentially be good. Like a Ryan Fitzpatrick would have been a good fit in Denver too. We talked about that as an option
before
Washington.
That would have been so nice.
But
speaking of Fitzpatrick, did you hear this N'Keal Harry rumor?
No, what is it?
Who knows? But there was like some scuttlebutt that Washington's maybe interested in trading for N'Keal Harry, which would be.
That's what we got to see.
That would be so sweet to see him with Fitzpatrick because that's like the Devontae Parker breakout scenario.
Yeah,
that would be nice.
N'Keal, McLaurin, and Curtis Samuel, and Logan Thomas, and Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
Jeez, that'd be a fun team.
The Patriots finally pull the trigger on investing some draft capital in a wide receiver and ship him off in, what is it, 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
Jeez, just so disgusting.
Hey, but they got Kendrick Bourne now, Pat's favorite player.
Just bring Mohamed Sanu back at that point.
The ADPs and like that's going to be I think I even saw it last week when they were saying they're going to be so easy to stack. It's like, I know I'm going to do all these stupid underdog drafts, not the drafts themselves, but my teams are going to be stupid and they're going to have so many of like the Cam Newton to Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, because you can get them all in like the 13th round, and I'm going to hate myself for it.
What do you guys think about Tevin Coleman? I am kind of curious about that. I mean, it was a super cheap deal, and the Jets suck. But like,
and it's the previous coaching staff.
Yeah,
it's funny because he was kind of viewed as Shanahan's boy, and then it's like, well, maybe. But I think he's been brought in for depth. They're like, the floor can't fall lower than Tevin Coleman, at least.
Yeah, I've just kind of always liked him, and I could see him being all right. I mean, he's a good late round pick, isn't he?
Maybe they kind of use a rotation of guys. Maybe there's no clear cut lead back there. Yeah.
I mean, it's a new coaching staff, but like, who's their guy? Is it Pirine? I mean,
no, they probably draft someone.
Yeah.
But I could see a little split backfield between him and doing Ty Johnson, where because both Coleman and Ty Johnson, they've been used as both rushers and pass catchers. I could see him used kind of similar to how the Devonta Freeman, Tevin Coleman stuff, where they kind of alternate series, type stuff versus like having a specific role in the offense, because it seems like they were pretty excited about Ty Johnson. And he played well down the stretch.
Yeah. And there's guys in the draft who they could take, beyond the second round. They could, I bet they add someone fairly cheaply,
but like,
and he does have some kind of role.
Coleman was like, okay. The year before last.
Last
year, and he barely played, but he was still.
He wasn't very good when he did play.
Yeah, he wasn't very good last year, but he barely played. I mean, I just pulled it up. He had 32 touches all season, but the year before, I mean, he wasn't good, but he averaged 4 yards a carry. He was, obviously in Atlanta the year before that and had 4.8 and was like more explosive, but I don't know. He's still somebody that I don't know. I've always liked. So
yeah,
going back to he was an old Rotoviz guy way back in his rookie year.
Oh yeah.
So I guess when Davis signed there, he said that he thought Darnold was going to be the quarterback. I mean, maybe this just means nothing, but what are you thinking with the Jets? Like, do you think they're going to draft someone, or are they going to roll with Darnold?
Man,
they have to draft someone. I think they have to. But it wouldn't surprise me if they kept Darnold and maybe didn't start the rookie. Maybe keep them both. Like, honestly, if I was in their position, that's how I'd probably play it. I would rather have both isn't Darnold on the last year of his deal? And if Darnold is really good, if not, he's just a bridge quarterback.
And don't you think the organization is too going to be like, all right, let's see 1 year of Darnold without Adam Gase? Like that's the narrative they tell themselves.
Yeah. And if he does end up blowing up and you have, Fields backing him up and you're not playing him, that's not a bad situation. It's not great, but like everyone acts like, oh my God, like you're going to be screwed. Well, okay, then you could probably move Fields or something. You can do whatever you want in that scenario. Obviously, Darnold would be a free agent too, but you probably
they have a 5th-year option on him.
Oh, they do. Have they?
Yeah.
Oh, they have not had to decide yet. Probably.
They haven't had to decide. Yeah.
Okay.
But if they do exercise it,
yeah, that'll be interesting.
Then it's sort of like an Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes situation. Potentially, that's your upside.
Mm-hmm.
Then maybe Darnold starts most of the year. You realize what you have Mahomes, and you're able to trade Darnold for what? I think Smith, they got a 2nd-round pick for that.
But I think the difference with that and the example that's been brought up in the chat here is Wentz Hurts is both Wentz and Mahomes were way better. Alex Smith were way better, and I think at the time way more established than even Darnold is now. Like Darnold is pretty much on thin ice. So it would be similar, but it would be easier to go away from him. They could go away from him in week 3 if they wanted to, I bet they.
I imagine the offers aren't that great for Darnold right now.
Right. I can't imagine they are.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I was actually trying to find it. I had seen a tweet like within the past couple of weeks where they were like, as far as GMs and evaluators around the league. Here's the tweet. Asking around on Sam Darnold, and the sense I get from scouts, coaches, and executives is that the perception of him among fans and some in the media is significantly higher than those inside the league. He stinks, bro, says one offensive coach.
And I don't even think fans and media seem to think he's that good.
No, we all think he sucks.
Yeah. And that's significantly higher than what they think of the league. Okay.
Well, I do think it goes back to that idea of everyone trying to say, like, maybe Darnold's fine and it's just the Gase thing, because the Gase narrative has become so strong with so many players going on and being way more successful that I wonder if that's where the kind of slight optimism comes from.
That's where my slight optimism comes from.
Yeah.
And I do have some slight optimism, like if they don't draft a quarterback, and we're like, all right, I guess they're rolling with Darnold. They're going to be doing more play action. There's no Adam Gase.
They got to draft a QB. Do you really think they're not going to take a
No, I think they will. They will. But I guess if they do draft a quarterback, then my slight optimism's out the window because I assume that quarterback will beat him out.
I mean, unless they get a good deal, I think what we see is they decline his 5th year. They draft a QB at 2. They start the season with Darnold and give him a chance without Gase for a few weeks and just see what he does. He had
Why decline the 5th year? The 5th year is only guaranteed for injury.
What do you mean? They can cut him after the year and not have to pay him?
Yeah, as long as he doesn't get hurt.
Oh. Then maybe exercise it. It's not that much either, is it?
It's 18.8 mil.
Oh, that's more than
So it would suck if he got hurt.
Yeah.
But I think you exercise it because then, and I think it's May they have to decide by. And
if you draft a QB, it's kind of tough to exercise a 5th year on another former first-round QB.
I guess that's true because who's going to trade for $18 million salary Sam Darnold?
Yeah.
So you got to trade him now, I guess. You got to trade him now and draft a quarterback. That's your play.
Yeah.
Should I have told that to them off stream then?
Yeah, you gotta keep that under wraps. What about Damien Williams to Chicago? A little bit of a mystery box with him taking the year off, but man, do we love anything more than betting against David Montgomery?
I do love that.
I mean, now you got Tariq Cohen and Damien Williams. So, hey, couple pass catchers. Obviously, a big part of what David Montgomery did, we know it was the schedule, but we also know it was the routes and the receptions, right? And that immediately happened from Tariq Cohen's injury. It was clear that it was going to happen. It did happen. It hadn't happened prior because they liked Tariq Cohen as a pass catcher. And now they brought in another guy who, Damien Williams, every year of his career, even before he went to the Chiefs, had caught 20-plus balls. Even when he was this, rotation guy with Miami, before he was even, good with Miami, he was a guy who was catching 20-plus balls. It's not hard to see him come in and catch, 15 or 20 balls again in Chicago, and Cohen is still catching 40 or 50. It's not good for David Montgomery to not catch passes, obviously.
And looks like Montgomery's going in the late 3rd, early 4th right now.
Light that on fire.
That is not a pick we'll be making.
I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine the headspace you have to be in to make that pick.
So who are the guys that we're going to just be like railing against in August? One of them's Montgomery. I assume another is Melvin Gordon because that's so disgusting.
Where can I get? I'm so out of the game now. Where can we pull up a current ADP chart?
Go to ETR and look at their underdog rankings. They have the ETR. They have the underdog ADP right there.
Okay.
One of the things that that I do with running backs that I don't think is done enough, or at least talked about enough in fantasy or whatever, but with high value touch stuff specifically, I've noticed that it has a lot to do with the offenses. And we know this, like we talk about it vaguely, but like ADP doesn't reflect it. You want running backs on good teams and at least teams that are functional, teams with quarterbacks who can move the ball. That's going to help you. Like even if the team's going to trail and you're like, oh, they can catch passes, like you still need a functional quarterback that can move the ball enough and check down and complete passes. That is still a requirement. There's teams that are just not functional, and the Bears will have the potential to be not very functional this year with Andy Dalton as their main quarterback. I think they could be okay, but that's one team I would stay away from. And then the Broncos are another one. Like they have a lot of talent, but you just mentioned Melvin Gordon. Like those are absolutely the kinds of guys that are going to be boosted in projections by guaranteed touches. No one's going to think about the fact that their offenses could literally be in the bottom 5 of the league, like that team that sort of bottoms out. And you don't want to make bets that high on, number one, on guaranteed touches, and number two, on offenses that could just be terrible.
Yeah.
Looking at this ADP, I'm telling you right now, I won't be touching Zeke Elliott with a 10-foot pole.
Nope.
That's the one where it's like you're looking at your portfolio and you're like, yeah, should I add a couple of those? And it's just no.
Generally, I try to get the best running back on his team when I'm spending high capital.
The other thing drafters don't realize, and I guess I don't understand why, but when I've done some of the broad league winner based research in the past, guys who hit a cliff or fall off or they were as good as Ezekiel Elliott and they're not anymore, they rarely come back and be league winners again. Some of them are still good at some point.
Yeah.
DeMarco Murray is like the only one. He was good, or maybe not the only one, but like one of the best examples. Good with the Cowboys, bad with the Eagles, went back to the Titans and had like a really, really good year with the Titans. But there are so few examples of guys like that who were way up there, came down, started having injury issues, getting up there in age, past 25, and then suddenly they're good again. Like, no.
Yeah, it's a very
again. Never again. Even if he has a good year this year, I won't take him next year. He's done for me.
Yeah,
athleticism matters so much there. Once it goes, it's gone. It's not you can't make up for it with skill like you can at wide receiver.
I'm also with Sam on this one. Someone explained to me how Aaron Jones is below Zeke and Chubb. I don't get that.
No.
Let's see here. I think we are both, or all of us were excited about Gibson and Swift. We were debating them in that first draft we did. Both those guys seem fine there.
Swift's a little trickier now because of the offense stuff we just talked about. Stafford's been traded now. And
true.
We don't know how bad they'll be.
Yeah.
Gibson is, oh man.
He's fun.
I want some Gibson.
Yeah. I think we went with Swift over Gibson, right? But we kind of talked a couple of weeks later that we would prefer. I think, Pat, you and I kind of agreed that we would prefer Gibson at this point. I think Gibson should go a full round higher at this point.
I think he will. I mean, I think he is probably going to be like Miles Sanders last year. Remember Miles Sanders when we started, like around this time last year, is probably going in like the late second, and then he peaked at like the 105, 106. I could see that same trajectory for Gibson. Akers as well. I think he looks like he's going to rise. He's already pretty pricey. He's going to like the 1-2 turn, but I could still see him getting up to like the 105, 106.
Yeah, and Eric, I'm kind of with this. Carson hasn't historically been my guy, but looking at these names he's around, I kind of like Carson there. Am I crazy at RB25?
What have you been reading, John Paulson?
I don't know.
He always likes Carson. I don't know. No, I agree. I think Carson's.
I mean, I don't have takes on these rookies, but I like him over Josh Jacobs. I like him over David Montgomery. I mean, like all these other names, I think I prefer him over Kareem Hunt.
I'll put it this way. I don't think I'm going to want to draft him in FFPC, but at this time of year in half PPR underdog, like by all means.
Yeah. It's this is sort of the dead zone for me. Like you can quibble with where you like him, but I basically won't draft any of those veterans you just said.
Yeah. And where are we at on the rookies? Do we think any of these rookies are going to be worth where they're going right now, or are they kind of inflated without having the full information of the landing spot?
I think that ETN, Najee Harris, and Javonte Williams are pretty safe. And I think that Javonte Williams in particular,
they're probably cheap right now.
They're probably cheap. They're probably cheap right now. If anything, they are underpriced, I think. And Williams at running back 25, I mean, he has a lot of room to increase.
And things can go bad, but like the one guy that was the best example of that last year was actually Jonathan Taylor. And it was because he got drafted to a team where everyone loved Marlon Mack. And how hilarious is it? I mean, it's sad that Marlon Mack got hurt, but now Marlon Mack signs a 1-year, $2 million deal to come back, and no one even is blinking. He's clearly their Taylor's backup now. But Taylor was the one guy that was going sort of in this range, top name. And
ahead of this, though.
Yeah, ahead of this in pre-draft, and then fell because of landing spot. People were concerned. But my point is it wasn't actually that big of a deal because, there was an injury, but ultimately, he wasn't good the first half of the year. His talent ultimately went out, though. And that's what you're drafting.
Yeah. But by the end of the draft season, he was going like an underdog. You had to take him like early third.
Yeah.
Which is basically where ETN and Harris are going now. So I think like even now these guys aren't Jonathan Taylor level prospects, but I'm agreeing with the general point that I think even the downside isn't
if the landing spot is kind of bad, then they'll still be in this range probably. Is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes.
There he is, Ronald Jones, running back 29 by ADP, but ETR rank lagging behind.
They didn't bring anyone in, did they? And Fournette's.
Now it's always so when you're like looking at rankers, we always like to use John Paulson. We think he's great. He does tend to have some biases. He tends to like these older veterans a little bit more than other guys, and sometimes he picks out some really good ones. Leone has a lot of influence in these ranks, and he's pretty salty about us putting Ronald Jones in a lot of FFPC playoff teams. So just know that when you're reading ETR.
You're saying that he's settling old scores in the official.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you should know the person doing the rankings and kind of what they're, where they're
at. Wait, are you putting that past Leone, Pete? Because no, that sounds exactly like how Leone would play it.
That's true. That's true. I feel like this is one of the times where I know like Leone isn't watching, but his ears are burning, and he just pops in the chat and just starts typing away with like some historical efficiency numbers or something.
Leone, if you're in the chat, please join, and then me and Pete will drop off, and you can argue with Ben.
Yeah, people. It's been way too long since we got a good Gretchen Leone bickering session.
I haven't talked to him on a stream in a while. We talked on the phone, but not live. We got to get on and argue about something. Well, I mean, part of the problem is you guys have been doing Top Shot, and I have not. So I haven't had like anything to do with your guys' fun little adventures.
Hey,
we tried to talk you into it like a month ago.
Even the chat can't get the Top Shot brain gone. Lou, yes, I think Javonte Williams will be getting the 3 badges here. Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Where are these rookie wide receivers?
It has to do with Top Shot, but I don't really know what the 3 badges would reference.
Don't worry about it, man. Honestly, just don't worry about it.
Draft all the Rashad Bateman. He's going wide receiver 48 right now.
Why?
Is Bateman going to be your Rager this year?
He's going to be my Justin Jefferson this year.
Yeah. Come on, man. Don't equate him to Rager. Like
so a guy we have none of, that's who he's gonna be.
I actually have some Justin Jefferson in Dynasty, so I somewhat feel vindicated. I just got too excited about Rager a little late this season.
Come on.
I wish we co-managed teams in Dynasty and not exclusively across season long, because I didn't get any exposure there.
Talk to Friedman. Maybe we can work out a trade in the audio.
Get me off of Friedman Island. Get me out of there. All right, yeah, let's check some.
No,
of these
but
wide-
Bateman, you gotta draft Rashad Bateman.
Someone asked, what are the best
incredible.
realistic landing spots for the running backs? We were just talking about Atlanta. I think Atlanta's a big one. The Jets is probably a good one, but I don't like the offense. But I mean, Atlanta is the number one for me probably. Arthur Smith has been, building off the run and play action has been his offense. And if one of these running backs lands there, yeah, Mike Davis is not ideal, but I'm going to be excited about that landing spot.
Dude,
I am
there's
too.
oh god.
Well, I was going to say that I think ETN in particular might be interesting there because he can thrive in that committee. Like if Mike Davis ends up being kind of the Jamal Williams there, then ETN could be, I think, very much an Aaron Jones type of fantasy profile. It hurts more. Like Williams and Harris are, you're hoping more they're workhorses.
Arizona is another one probably with no Drake. That's a good pass offense where you'd like the lead runner.
Wide receiver is going to be fun. I'm just looking through these names, and it seems like another year where I'm just going to want to hammer it through about 8 rounds.
Yep. This draft class is really deep, like really deep at wide receiver. There's like lots of different guys. It's a lot like last year's, actually. I mean, it's not quite as good as last year's, but it's got guys at the top that are really exciting. It's got some really interesting guys like Rondale Moore. I mean, he's 5'7". He's 5'7". That's crazy.
It's really crazy.
He's got the speed though. He can jump the 42.5-inch vert. He's a real wide receiver. His production is awesome. His yards per route run were awesome. Like he's got everything we're looking for production. It's just he's really, really small. To me, it's like I want to see the landing spot, but
Steve Smith's listed at 5'9", Golden Tate's listed at 5'10". Those dudes look real small.
Yeah,
when they play in the NFL field, and Rondale Moore's 2 and 3 inches smaller.
He's closer to Darren Sproles' height.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, we wanted to pull up some of his pro day stuff. I mean, just an insane athlete.
I'm definitely taking him. Like,
I want some.
Especially in today's NFL. I think one of the big things we saw back in the day, speaking of like old school Rotoviz stuff, back in the day there was all that really good research on weight with receivers. Jim Clute did some great stuff and how that leads to touchdowns and how that impacts receiver production. And I think, I'm not certain, but I think I've seen some essentially some research that has disproven that over the last few years, or at least now that there's more evidence, the league's shifting is what I'm trying to say. And that jives with what we know about how passing efficiency expanded because of the rule enforcement after 2014 about defensive holding and illegal contact. They changed the way the position was played. You could no longer jam out the way that you used to be able to, out downfield, out past 5 yards. And schemes have changed, routes have changed, and guys like this are now able to play well. Not long after that, we saw T.Y. Hilton lead the NFL in receiving. Guys his weight previously had never done that. Tyreek Hill blew up. There are smaller receivers that are succeeding more in today's NFL than they really ever have in the NFL. He's a little bit smaller than that, but you're showing all this stuff about how freaking jacked he is, how high he jumps, how fast he is. I mean, I'm not that worried about it, to be honest, about the height.
Yeah.
The landing spot matters to me. That's where it comes in.
Yeah, outside of saying like, Patrick Mahomes, what's your ideal landing spot?
The Bills. The Bills would just be incredible because Cole Beasley's a free agent after the season. You've got, they play a lot of 4 wide. They brought in Emmanuel Sanders, who, is basically done. So you've got Gabriel Davis, Stephon Diggs, Rondale Moore as your late season 3 wide receiver set, or entering 2022 as the 3 wide receiver set. There's so much explosion in that set. I would love that. And they're a really smart franchise. The way they deploy him, I think, would be intelligent, and they would get the most out of his strengths.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep saying that until it happens.
Sorry, I'm just hypnotized.
Is that your favorite for fantasy or just for like NFL fandom? It sounds like
I think everything.
Yeah. Okay. I think like the Panthers wouldn't be a bad spot. I want to get him into an offense where there's some intelligence with the offense, I think, and some a bit like some maybe some college influence, some spread. I don't really love Kingsbury at this point, but Arizona wouldn't be a bad fit. They have two aging, they have Fitzgerald and AJ Green are both going to probably play decent roles this year, but it would open up if either of those guys gets hurt or anything.
Well, he could be good Isabella.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't mind that.
Or good Kirk.
Or good Kirk, yeah. That's true.
Kirk, but good Kirk, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, is this the year I'm finally out on Christian Kirk? Do I just have to be, or is now he going to be too cheap that I'm talked into it again? Looks like he's going wide receiver 62, both ADP and ETR rank.
I think he's a pretty solid best ball pick.
I'll take him there. Yeah.
You prefer him in best ball?
I prefer him in best ball.
Denzel Mims,
but I'll take him there.
Denzel Mims.
I prefer him in every format. Rondale Moore and Denzel Mims back to back in current ADP.
I like Denzel Mims in standard scoring,
Yeah. Don't worry, Lou. I'm not going to be out on Kirk. I'm going to reread the Air Raid book. I'm going to get really hype on Hal Mummy again. I still want to take his certification class to become Air Raid certified. Can you imagine how angry I would get watching the Cardinals offense if I actually had like in-depth X's and O's understanding of how the air raid's supposed to work?
Yeah, Kingsbury's been like, why did it have to be Kingsbury? We wanted this offense in the NFL, but not through this guy.
Yeah, can we get like Shanahan to get really into the air raid or something?
Yeah.
What was the deal with Kingsbury? Didn't he leave Texas Tech and wasn't he going to be the offensive coordinator at USC? And then Arizona was like, no, you downgraded to a coordinator position in college, and now we're going to make you the head coach. Isn't it?
I think so. I think he got I think he got fired or left, and then he got hired and was about to take the job, and then somehow got a head coaching job before
in the NFL, a level up. Yeah. How did that happen? Am I remembering that right? But
no, the general points are correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't remember every detail, but
it didn't need to be him. Is the point? Even college had figured out that he's not probably a great head coach.
Speaking of Cardinals, and with Drake out, I mean, can we leave a candle on for Eno Benjamin?
Yeah. Are you guys excited about Chase Edmonds?
More excited about Eno Benjamin.
I think that they're going to draft a running back, right? I mean, I think that feels like a pretty clear lock.
Yeah.
I'm sure they have other needs. I'm not really up on their needs, but they've built in other ways, certainly in the last couple of years. I think they could spare like a third round running back or a second round even.
Yeah.
Of the three big running backs, Harris, Etienne, and Javonte Williams, if you could assign all of them somewhere, how would you do it? So you can't put the same guy, you can't just be like, they all go to Atlanta. You get to pick each one. How you doling them out to the landing spots?
This one's for you, Gretch.
Well, I think you made a good point about Etienne fitting Atlanta better. Arizona, they've leaned on guys, and even though it's a spread offense, they treated Kenyon Drake like a power back, and they kind of did the year before with David Johnson. I think I think Najee Harris could fit there. I don't know about Williams. How would you do it?
I think I'd go Etienne to the Jets just because of, and I know some of this makes no sense with draft position or whatever, but let's just roll with it. But I think he's pretty interesting in that Shanahan scheme. And then I think I'd go Harris to the Falcons and then Javonte Williams to the Cardinals.
Okay.
I'm a little bit worried about Harris in terms of his explosiveness. So
yeah, if Harris went to the Falcons, I kind of feel like I would be okay with Mike Davis in the 13th round, that kind of thing.
Yeah. One other signing that actually kind of dovetailed into, I remember our conversation when the Stafford trade happened. And we're like, the thing that offense was missing is that vertical element. And then they bring in Desean Jackson. Are we excited about that signing at all?
I'm always excited about Desean Jackson signing somewhere. I mean, I don't know. He's explosive. When he's playing, he adds elements to NFL offenses that, yeah. I mean, I think he's been so good for every quarterback he's played with from a yards per attempt standpoint and everything, except like Jameis Winston. There's been like one or two, but when he plays, he adds an element to offenses if he's healthy. I don't know if I'll be I mean, like, obviously injury is the whole thing, but
I think he improves the offense for sure.
Definitely prefer the best ball. Absolutely.
It's
a quintessential preferred best ball guy. Let's be honest.
It's true. Yeah, I mean, Djax is one of those guys where it feels like you want to count him out every year, and if he's healthy and on the field, and it is going to be a great fit. Like, I mean, he's never going to get double covered. That's for sure.
No, and that's a big upgrade over Josh Reynolds.
Yeah.
Although, in Josh Reynolds' defense, he was their deep threat wide receiver last year. He had an 8 out of like 10.5. Goff just didn't target anyone deep. So maybe he's like an incredible deep wide receiver, but that he was wasted if he is, because Goff doesn't go deep. So just having Stafford in there alone was probably an improvement. But I do think Deshaun's an upgrade.
I mean, one thing with Desean, young, like fast, undersized receivers tend to age poorly. He's 34. He's been hurt a ton. Like you can't. I don't think you can really rely on him in any real fantasy capacity. Mm-hmm. But I will say that when he's played these last couple of years, I felt like he's been still sort of the same guy. Like he hasn't looked like he's noticeably lost a lot when he's been on the field. It's just that he always gets hurt. I mean, the game that he got hurt this past year, he was playing well, and then he got hurt on a punt return. I think I played him in a showdown line. I think he was like a popular showdown play. It was a primetime game. And then remember they put him back to return a punt, and he hurt his foot.
Didn't he get hurt a couple times last year?
Yeah, this was after he came back, I think.
Yeah.
And then he got hurt again right away.
Yeah, it kind of feels like his body's breaking down a little bit with all this kind of – because they're all like little kind of, nicks and cuts. They're not like big injuries. But, man, if he's out there, I do think that he adds an element to the offense, and then it improves the outlook for the offense. I agree. I don't think I'll be drafting much of him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just pulled up his game log. I was talking about week 7. He played the first 3 games, misses 3 games, comes back week 7 against the Giants. He's only gone 3 for 34 with 5 targets, and then he gets a punt return. Oh, and he had a carry. That's right. They gave him a carry on the first play of the game. He gets a punt return, goes 2 yards, gets hurt, and then he goes on IR. Comes back late in the year, plays one more game, has 1 catch for 81 yards and a TD against Dallas. I forgot about that one too. He came back after being on IR and already missing 2 extended stays, and has an 81
on a dysfunctional offense.
Yeah, he's kind of good. Like he's still kind of good.
Yeah, I think so. Hopefully, he stays healthy.
All right, guys. Any of these other signings that I missed? I think we've hit all of the big ones. Maybe save for some guys that re-signed.
Well, I did want to ask about, Everett goes to Seattle. So are you excited at all about Higbee?
I mean, I'm excited about both of them.
You're excited about Everett? Well, Everett, they're talking about Will Dissly getting all this time.
Yeah.
I put him to bed. He's like sleeping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Murphy's got to go to bed.
Oh, Murphy.
Oh,
right when we were about to talk about Tyler Higbee, he got tired.
Yeah. Hey, Tyler Higbee makes me tired too. Murphy.
No, I mean, I think you have to be excited about Higbee.
Why?
I mean, isn't his situation greatly improving from last year? Both quarterback play and competition for targets?
Yes.
And he was solid. He was like fine last year. I don't know. I guess when I say what's his ADP right now? That's always the question, right?
I just think that 5-game stretch was an outlier and will go down as an outlier. Whether it's friggin' Johnny Munt or Bryson Hopkins, who they took last year, like I still think they'll use a second tight end.
I don't, yes, it was an outlier, but he was like a league winner. He was playing out of his mind. So it was an outlier, but like there's nothing at tight end. Tight end is disgusting. There's no one to draft. So I'm into it. I'm into Higbee, although I went for the Higbee ride last year and it burned me, but he's not that expensive. I mean, he's tight end 14, 123 ADP on underdog. So I don't think you're paying through the nose for him. And yeah, I mean, we just talked about how this offense should probably be a lot better. No one stands to benefit more from that than the running backs and the tight ends.
Tight end 18?
Tight end 14.
14. Yeah, I mean, I can see that price.
I mean, wasn't last year in the Scott Fishbowl, wasn't he going at like tight end 9 or tight end 10?
Yeah.
Higher, maybe even.
Because it's upside.
7. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're cutting these guys. We're playing the waiver wire at tight end. Like, take a dude who has like at least an outside shot to be an elite scorer.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. And there was certainly arguments for, playing for ceiling with him last year. I totally bought that. He was a hard one to analyze last year. Absolutely. But I just think another full year where he basically went back to the old guy and had 500 yards total for the entire season. And, he had 500 yards in that stretch, that 5-game stretch the year before. The rest of his career doesn't look like what he did for that. I mean, it doesn't look, you're right that it was historical. It was better than anything any tight end's ever done for, consecutive 100-yard games and all those things. But nothing he's done has suggested that he's going to have like a real tight end ceiling in a given season.
Yeah, agreed. But he's going after Mike Gesicki, so he's basically free.
Gotta get a Gesicki shot in.
Oh man, who are I feel like they all end up being landmines. It was like I was like scooping up a falling Hunter Henry or reaching for Gesicki. I guess Hawkinson ended up being fine, but nothing like
he was fine.
He was fine.
Yeah. But the tight end position is just terrible. There's no good options.
And Hawkinson was like barely fine. He needed lots of injuries to like raise his target floor to like 4 or 5 a game just to like make him fine.
Yeah. And it kind of happened at the end. It wasn't a lot of fun owning Hawkinson.
No. Definitely makes me want to get a Kelsey or Kittle again up top. That's for sure. In tight end premium.
Are you willing to go with Waller?
Or Waller? I'm going Waller. Waller's going to be fun.
I like Waller along your thought, Pat, of, you take a big cut because the upside is huge. And if you miss out, you're just streaming.
Yeah.
What is he going, like 5th round again right now?
No, he's going higher than that.
Oh, I guess at FFPC, I'm sure he's going higher, but an underdog.
Underdog, he is going in the 2nd round?
No.
Yeah.
No.
He was that good. He was really good.
I'm out in non-tight end premium on Darren Waller in the 2nd round. I'll tell you that much.
Well, he's going to the 2nd on underdog. He's probably going late first.
You realize he had more catches than Kelsey last year. He got 107 balls last year. Like he was. Yeah, Kelsey.
I like the idea of you being in on a guy in the 5th round who's actually got a 2nd round ADP.
Because I was telling you what his price should be.
Yeah, it turns out you're incredibly out on him.
I mean, he's really good at football is the other thing. Like down the stretch, he was making some plays in some of these games. I know in the playoffs of FFPC, he was a monster. But just like the actual plays he's making, he's developed into a really good player. I don't know, man. I think he's going to have another really good season. I think he's right up there with Kelsey and Kittle.
It's tough for me. It's tough.
We'll talk you into it.
Sounds like your mind's made up.
3
rounds below ADP.
My principle is I have strong beliefs that are loosely held. So I reserve the right to be reaching for Darren Waller at 1.6 in a month.
So there were 2 tight ends last year that caught 100 balls, Waller and Kelsey. Obviously, Kittle got hurt, right? They caught 107, 105 balls. Logan Thomas was next at 72. They were a full 30 receptions clear of the rest of the tight end pack. And then, the next one after that was Hawkinson, 67 catches. And then Ingram, like the 5th best guy, was at 63, low 60s. There's not even a lot of dudes that catch 60 passes at this position. I don't see how anyone's going to project Waller for fewer than like 80 catches next year. I mean, he was so good last year. And he certainly has a 100-catch upside again. So
honestly, I'm probably just feeling burned from the Mark Andrews fiasco last year of taking him in the second round, taking him in a shit ton of underdog, and him not panning out. It
hurts when the tight ends don't hit. I'll tell you that.
Sure does. And it's very hard because only like one or two outside of the big dogs hit in a big way every year.
You know what's kind of crazy? Mark Andrews had 2 yards per route run last year, which is awesome. He was really strong. He didn't really score touchdowns, and the Ravens offense
408 passes or something. Yeah.
Right, there weren't many routes.
I remember writing last year in talking about AJ Brown that there had only been 4 teams in the previous since that 2014 rule change that had thrown fewer than 450 passes. And almost every year there was exactly 5 teams that had thrown fewer than 500 passes. So, 450 is crazy basement level. 500 and below is already, you're going to be bottom 5 in the league. I was just looking at team stats the other day. The Ravens threw 406 passes last year. They were one of the 4 teams the year before they were one of the 4 teams that had thrown fewer than 450. That is their offense now. But that is so low in the modern NFL. Yeah. It's hard to explain how low that is and what that means for target shares. And I mean, a guy can be a 2 yards per route run player, and we still think he was pretty bad.
Yeah,
for fantasy.
Yeah. Chat talking about Kyle Pitts too. People getting excited for him. Yes, the Pats trading up for Kyle Pitts.
It's tough with, we're talking kind of more redraft here over the last few minutes, and it's definitely tough with Kyle Pitts, to take a rookie tight end. You really have only had Evan Ingram matter at the tight end position as a rookie, and so it's hard to see it happening, but Pitts looks awesome.
Yeah.
So,
and now I'm already blanking. Who's the tight end Chicago took last year?
Cole
Kmet, where there were flashes that he might carve out a role towards the end of the year, and then he was just blocked by Jimmy Graham's red zone presence. But I think there are scenarios where obviously Kyle Pitts is infinitely more talented than Cole Kmet. I could see him having some late season, pretty sick production if he's in the right spot.
I agree with that. I think one of the cool things about him, obviously, is the speed, the athleticism. He's more of a wide receiver. That's what we saw from Ingram, right? Some of these other tight ends, for whatever reason, maybe there's more nuance to the position, the blocking assignments. Pitts might not get asked to do that, right? He might just be asked to be used as a split out wide receiver, essentially, which would be sweet.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, because we've seen wide receivers be good, right? I mean, it's not like it's the receiver part that's so challenging. I think it's more the position and staying on the field and understanding blocking schemes and assignments and all those things. But if he gets in the right system, obviously, I mean, we'll say that with every player to some degree probably. But and Pat, you pointed this out a couple weeks ago when we took him. No matter where he lands, we're going to get a coach's quote. You made a great call. We're going to get a coach's quote that's we're going to use him that way. And it will be interesting to see how it actually happens. But he's different than a lot of these tight ends is basically the crux of my argument.
Yeah, and Jimmy Graham, right, he came in, undrafted?
Mm-hmm.
And only played 5 games his rookie year. They had Jeremy Shockey. And then 2011, he was installed as the starter, and he immediately blew up.
Yeah.
And this is the mold that we're looking for. We're looking for Jimmy Graham. We're looking for Evan Ingram, of basically a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So those guys, to your point, I mean, it's easier to imagine a wide receiver blowing up. We see them do that all the time. And if he's utilized in that Jimmy Graham type of role, it could happen right away.
Yeah, I was just pulling up one mock draft because I'd want to get a feel for it. And the Walter Football has Kyle Pitts going number 5 overall to the Bengals.
If he's on the Bengals,
that'd be sweet.
Let's just take that as an example. He's on the Bengals with Joe Burrow. They have T. Higgins, but they have targets available. AJ Green is no longer on the team. I'm going to make sure I have shares of Kyle Pitts. I'll put it that way.
Oh yeah.
Could be a league winner in year one. I'm not going to be worried about the fact that tight ends don't typically blow up with him specifically.
Yeah, I think that's fair. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in tonight. Like we mentioned, I see we have a few VIPs rolling in. We're going to go head over to the Ship Chasing Discord chat to shoot the shit, hang out for a little while. If you guys if you signed up and are having trouble getting in the Discord, just send me a message on Twitter or leave something in the comments, and we will make sure you are squared away. Yes.
Can I say something real quick? So we talked about Mike Boone earlier.
Yeah.
If you want a good laugh,
Yes.
go to Twitter, check out the video that Steven Krupka did on